Good morning, friends. Go ahead and stand and let's worship together. go to the way I was. I'm gonna live like my chains are gone, gone. Now my sin is dead and gone, and I sing hallelujah. Done, done. He is risen, it is done, and I sing hallelujah. Praise is a weapon that will overcome. I'm gonna shout like the battle's won. Fall back, devil, 'cause your time is up. I'm gonna live like the stone is gone, gone. Now my sin is dead and gone, and I sing hallelujah. Done, done. He is risen, it is done, and I sing hallelujah. How great the power of the blood.
my strength, my song, this cornerstone, this solid ground, firm through the fiercest drought and storm. What heights of love, what depths of peace, when fears are stilled, when striving cease, my comforter, my all in all, here in the love of Christ I stand. In Christ alone, who took on flesh, fullness of God in helpless babe, this gift of love and righteousness, scorned by the ones he came to save, till on that cross as Jesus died, the wrath of God was satisfied. Forever sin on him was laid. Here in the death of Christ I live. There in the ground his body lay, light of the world by darkness slain. Then bursting forth in glorious day, nailed up the door, he rose again. And as he stands with victory, sin's curse has lost its fit on me. And I am his and he is mine, bought with the precious blood of Christ. No guilt in life, no fear in death. This is the power of Christ in me. From life's first cry to final breath, Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell, no scheme of man can ever pluck me from his hand, till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I'll stand, till he returns and calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I'll stand. Lord, I confess, bowing here I find my rest, and without you I fall apart. You're the one that guides my heart. Lord, I need you, oh, I need you. Every hour I need you, my one defense, my righteousness, oh God, how I need you. Where sin runs deep, your grace is more. Where grace is found is where you are. Where you are, Lord, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me. And where you are, Lord, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me. So teach my song to rise to you. When temptation comes my way, when I cannot stand, I'll fall on you. Jesus, you're my hope and stay. When I cannot stand, I'll fall on you. Jesus, you're my hope and stay. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you.
There's a table that you prepared for me in the presence of my enemies. It's your body and your blood you shed for me. This is how I fight my battle. There's a table that you prepared for me in the presence of my enemies. It's your body and the blood you shed for me. This is how I fight my battle. And I believe you've overcome, and I will lift my song of praise for all you've done. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how. In the valley, I know that you're with me. Surely your goodness and your mercy follow me. So my weapons are praise and thanksgiving. This is how I fight my battle. And I believe you've overcome, and I will lift my song of praise for all you've done. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how. This is how. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. This is how I fight my battles. 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 This is how. God, we are grateful that you have fought and won the decisive battle against sin and death. But you know that many of us come here today still tired and war-weary. You know that some of us don't feel like we're living in victory. Some of us are ready to lay down our weapons and give up. So I ask that you would draw near to us now. You would speak to us that word of triumph and victory that you won for us by your Son's death on the cross. When you triumphed over all your enemies, you put all of them under the feet of your Son, and you won for us victory everlasting. We love you. We're grateful for that. Help us to hear that word, to receive it with glad hearts, and be restored and refreshed by it. We thank you and we give you praise in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Good morning, Horizons. Why don't you turn around and welcome one another today? Well, good morning, my friends. Good morning. I hope you're all doing well. I have to kind of toot my own horn here for a minute. I must really love all of you because I rolled in yesterday morning at like 8 o'clock from Florida to be here this weekend. You know, and in Florida, it was like 85 degrees when I left. And I came back to this. It's terrible, you know. But some of us have to suffer for the kingdom. You know, some of us have to do it. So anyway, I'm glad to be back with you all. I had a refreshing week away and ready to get back to work. So happy to be here with you today. Truly, if we haven't met yet, my name is Josiah. I'm the assistant campus pastor here at our Lost Creek campus. And when you walked in, hopefully you received your bulletin that looks like this. I just want to point out two things from that packet today. You got your connection card in there. If you would fill that out, please, to let us know that you were here. If you've had any changes to your information, let us know about that. If you're new and we've not yet had the opportunity to meet you, what we'd love to do is meet you. So if you would be so kind as to fill out that connection card and then hold on to it, and at the end of the service, take it over to our welcome area over there to your left where that sign just lit up. If you bring that connection card with you at the end of the service, I will take it from you, give you a gift in exchange, and take just a couple minutes to introduce myself and show you some ways that you can get connected here at the church. All right? So if you're new and we haven't met yet, hope to see you over there at the end of the service. And you also find a giving envelope in there. We are able to do the awesome ministries that we do here at Horizons because of your generosity and your financial partnership. So we're grateful for that. If you'd like to continue giving or you'd like to start giving, you can do so utilizing any of the 4 methods that are listed up on that slide currently, including with this envelope. If you want to give but didn't come prepared, no worries. This envelope is self-addressed, postage paid, so take it home, drop your gift in the envelope, and then drop it in the mail, and it'll make its way to us. So when I went to Liberty University back in 2011, I had to find a new church home, right? And
I grew up in the church. I've been in church for as long as I can remember. And so when I set my sights on a new church and thought I'm going to go visit it, see if that'll be my church home while I'm at Liberty, I thought I was going to roll up all confident, with some swagger, I know what's going on. I've been in church my whole life. What's up? Brentwood, I'm here to, save the day or whatever. All your ministry hopes and dreams have been answered right here. I'm here to serve, do whatever. But it had been, golly, I've been in this church since it began in '97. So when I rolled into the parking lot of Brentwood Church, that was the first time I had visited a new church in over a decade. The first time I'd visited a new church as an adult. And as it turned out, I was actually very nervous and very anxious, and I wasn't sure what to expect, and I kind of got freaked out in the parking lot. And I actually, true story, almost just turned around and left because I was so freaked out by it. But when I rolled into the parking lot, there was a friendly team of parking lot attendants to tell me, guide me to a parking spot. And then there was a friendly team of greeters at the door, and there were ushers who told me, hey, here's, you're new here. All right, well, here's where all the stuff is located, and here's what the worship's going to be like. And those people who were willing to serve in those seemingly simple ways actually kind of saved the day for me and ended up making a great experience for me at Brentwood. I ended up making that my church home, and they did so much to help me feel like I was wanted there, like I was welcome, and help me get plugged in there. And, here at Horizons, I don't know when the last time was that, I don't know when you first came here, when you first visited, but it can be a pretty nerve-wracking experience visiting a church for the first time. And you probably noticed, we have parking lot attendants out there. We have got greeters. We got ushers. All those people do the same things that were done for me back in 2011. They help new people feel welcome. They help them find out where things are, what's going on. And those first time, our guest impressions team serve in one of the most important and probably unrecognized capacities here at the church. And, if you're not yet serving, you haven't got plugged into a serve ministry yet here at the church, maybe, that's a stepping stone ministry that you can get involved in. Maybe, you don't think, well, I'm not quite in a position where I want to, help out with the youth and teach, or I'm not quite in a position where I want to help out in kids' church, but maybe you could shake hands at the door. Maybe you could hand out bulletins here at the sanctuary. You could park cars. We're encouraging everyone to get involved in the serve ministry in February. So if you're not yet involved, maybe that's a place for you to get involved. I mean, you have no idea. You could save someone like me from getting in the parking lot, turning around and going home and not hearing the gospel by performing in those ministries. So if you're not yet involved in one of those, we encourage you to sign up. You can do that at the website, horizonschurch.net, or you can go check out the kiosks there in the lobby and get signed up in a serve ministry, all right? Final word before we have one quick video announcement. As you know, my father has had some medical issues of late. He had a minor procedure at the beginning of the week. He's fine. Everything's good. He's doing well. But his doctor wanted him to rest and recover. So he's supposed to be on a 2-week recovery, and he came into work this week. Big surprise. So he came and preached last night. He's taking it easy today. He's fine, but he's going to let the video preach. So we're going to be a video campus today. So just wanted to prepare you for that, alert you to that. And remember, my dad's fine. You don't need to leave here and say, he was sick and he's not, he's not there. He's fine, all right? So we got a video announcement, and then he will be up to deliver the message by a video today, all right? So take a look at the big screens, and we'll get started here.
Hi, moms and dads. I'm Pastor Kelly, and we want to let you know about the classes going on right now for your kids. If you have your kids with you in the service, we'd like to invite them to come experience the fun and learn the important life lessons from the Bible. We also offer nursery for infants and for toddlers. If your child gets fussy with you here in the sanctuary, please be courteous to those around you and use one of our cry rooms in the back of the sanctuary. You'll be able to see and hear everything, and your kids can enjoy the extra freedom. And now, here's your lead pastor, Quint Pitts.
We've got a little bit of time here. So EJ or Seth, let me talk to the Lost Creek before we kick into our campus pastors, okay? There's been a lot of people asking me about my health, and nobody gets it right. So I thought I would take a couple minutes just to talk to you about my health. I had a kidney infection back in December. I don't know if everybody heard about that. I'm very private about my health stuff, and I don't want people coming to the hospital because I feel like people are going to fuss about me, and I don't want people fussing about me, so I just kind of keep it all quiet. But I had a kidney infection, put me in the hospital right at Christmas Eve and Christmas. It was horrible for 3 days. Got a new respect, a meteoric respect for nurses. I've never been in a hospital before. That was my first time ever to be admitted to the hospital. And nurses need to get paid more. I don't know if you got any nurses out there, but you need to get paid more. Amazing. So anyway, went through the kidney infection. Horrible. I don't want anybody to ever have to do that. Anybody ever had one before? They're wretched. Anyway, the doctors at the VA, they said, hey, we've pinpointed why you're getting these kidney infections. And you're going to keep getting these kidney infections until you get a surgery done. We need to schedule you for a surgery. I had that surgery about 10 days ago. And it went well. All indications are that it did accomplish what it was supposed to accomplish so that I won't have to keep having these kidney infections. So the surgery went well. The literature on this surgery says you should take 2 weeks off from work. I took 4 days off of work. So anyway, I've overdone it. I have overdone it. I feel fine. I really do. I feel 100% fine. But there are some symptoms showing up in me now that the doctor doesn't like. So he wants me to take it a little bit easier this week. And anyway, I don't want anybody to worry about that because I feel fine. And the surgery did exactly what it was supposed to do. And anyway, that's all I want to say about that. Let's go back to our campus pastors now. I want to greet all those of you worshiping with us at our other campuses. Thank you for being with us today. Before we get into the message, I want to just let you know we're starting, I don't know if you've heard this or not, we're starting a new Horizons campus this year in, guess where? Gilmer County. Anybody been to Gilmer County before? Anybody go to Glenville State College? Anybody go to Glenville State? Yep. We're going to be right there near the college at Glenville State. Not in downtown Glenville, but out where they're kind of the food land and all that. We're starting that soon. And we got some pictures here of some of the work that we've been doing. And there it is. Yeah, Steve and some of the pastors, we actually made them work. You know, Dwayne, he always works. He's always a working man. But we've been wanting to start a campus. We started our last one. The newest one is in Berkeley County. That campus is about 1.5 years old. We're going to launch this one in Gilmer County in April. We've got a building already located. See my beard there? When I went in for my surgery, they made me shave the beard. I hate not having a beard. You know, I'm prettier when you can't see my face. So I just want to get that beard back again. Anyway, so we had a great time there, kind of getting some stuff ready for that building. It's right beside a Napa store. It's right in the middle of a strip mall. It's going to be a great location for us. We're right adjacent to the grade school, the only grade school in Glenville. And anyway, we're getting excited about that. Kenny Fisher is going to be our pastor down there, and he's sitting right over here. Those of you at the other campus, you can't see his pretty face, but there he is right there. And Kenny, thank you for your leadership on this. All right, so let's just jump right into the message today. Have you ever seen anything about this? Take a look at this video real quick.
Here we are at the University of Michigan on the grounds of their testing facility where Domino's and Ford have paired up to test out the driverless option. But this is what a customer will experience.
Hi, your Domino's is here. Input the last 4 digits of your phone number.
So once you're prompted, you just go with the last 4 digits of your telephone number, submit it. You got it. You got it.
The Domino's HeatWave container is open. You can safely remove your order now.
Once the window rolls down, you can access your order right here. And there you go. The car then knows it's been taken.
Thanks for using Domino's self-driving delivery vehicle.
And there you have it.
Is that wild or is that wild? So Domino's been testing this thing in Ann Arbor, Michigan. They tested it in Miami. They tested it in Houston. And there is the customers at Domino's have had one overwhelming reaction. The first reaction is this: wow, that's cool. You know, there is a cool factor. You know, you order the pizza and it comes to you without a driver in the car. You get an app, and the app tells you, hey, we're 5 minutes away, we're 2 minutes away, hey, come out and get your pizza. It's kind of a cool factor. That's the initial reaction.
But immediately after that cool factor romance honeymoon phase goes away, there is a dissatisfaction level that keeps going up and up and up with that. Can anybody guess why Domino's customers, faithful Domino's customers, are dissatisfied with a driverless vehicle delivering their pizza? Anybody got a guess? You have to put pants on, Casey, and you got to go out and you've got to go to the curb, for crying out loud. You got to walk from the stinking door to the stinking curb, and it's 40 feet, and it might be raining, it might be snowing. And so there's all of this dissatisfaction with the 40 feet, you know? I mean, does that say anything about us? Does that say something about us? I think it says a lot about us. The world is seducing us every single day, ladies and gentlemen. The world is seducing us to get us to believe that we deserve, we're entitled to a comfort, ease life, right? Convenience. Anything that disturbs my ease, anything that disturbs my comfort, even 40 feet of walking to get a fresh hot pizza, that needs to be rejected. The world is seducing us that way. And, you know, it doesn't stop. I mean, it's kind of cute to talk about pizza, pepperoni, and sausage and all that stuff. But there is a nefarious side to this. And the nefarious side is what affects not just pizza delivery. It affects my heart. It affects my relationship with God. So last week we started a series on the world. A series of talks. We're calling it The Cosmic Struggle with the World. Last week, Steve introduced an unholy trinity. You know, the Bible contains Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, but the Bible also contains an unholy trinity, which is the world, the flesh, and the devil. Now, around Horizons, we talk about the devil, and we talk about how to fight the devil a whole lot, right? I mean, we talk about that frequently. In fact, you guys get sick of me talking about that. We talk about the flesh some. And even if we don't know what the flesh is, we know when we recognize it, when we see it, the flesh is this internal traitor inside of me that pulls me away from God and pushes me towards sin. I've got something inside of me that works against the cause of Christ and the cause of God in my life, and that's called the flesh. But this thing called the world, I've been a Christian for 40 years, and I have never heard a full sermon on the world. Not until last week when Steve did his. I've certainly never heard a series of teachings on the world, and I've been a Christian for 40 years. Now, when I first became a Christian, I was a baby Christian back in the 1980, 81, 79, 80, 81. I went to a little Baptist church, and the little Baptist church talked about the world occasionally. They talked about the things of the world occasionally, and I got to say, you know what we talked about? You know what the preachers talked about when they talked about the world? Anybody remember? Playing cards, going to dances, watching movies, and listening to rock music. That was the world. And I got to say, that was a very naive and shallow view of what the world is. All right? So what we want to do over the next 4 weeks is we want to get real specific with you. We want to raise your awareness of what the world is and what it's doing to us, all right? And the reason we're doing this is because the Bible is just stark in its warnings to us about the world. 1 John 2:15 says, "Do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him." What? What? Did you see that? Can we agree that that's a pretty strong statement from the Scriptures? That if anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Folks, that is a super strong warning to look out for our hearts. How about James chapter 4? This is even stronger. James chapter 4, verse 4 says, "You adulterous people." Immediately, James in this verse says, hey, if you're friending with the world, you're an adulterer. It's like you're committing an adulterous relationship against God. You adulterous people, don't you know that friendship with the world is, excuse me, hatred towards God? Anyone who chooses to be a friend of the world becomes an enemy of God? Come on. Huh? This has got to be a misprint, right? I mean, anybody here want to be labeled a God hater? Anybody here want to be labeled someone who is an enemy of God? Probably wouldn't be in church if that was what you wanted to have happen with your life, right? This is super strong warning, isn't it? I mean, you don't see this kind of language in the New Testament much, but this is pretty strong. So let's review, because maybe we should learn a few things about the world, huh? What do you think? I mean, if the scripture says, look out, don't be a friend of the world, or you're going to be called a hater of God, I mean, that's a pretty strong warning. Maybe we should try to figure out what he's talking about when he talks about the world. Maybe we should try to figure out if we have become a friend of the world. And I got to tell you, folks, it's a lot more serious than playing cards, going to movies, and listening to rock music. It's a lot more serious, it's a lot more subtle, and it's a lot more nefarious than that. So let's review some of the things that Steve talked about last week. And the only reason I'm doing that, I don't want to bore you, but I want to say, and Steve did a great job, I don't have to cover for Steve, but I want to review because not everybody was here last week, all right? It's January, it's February, right? So people miss in February. Let's talk about what we're not talking about when we talk about the world, all right? Words have several definitions. Everybody agree with that? I think last week Steve used the example of trunk, the word trunk in the English language. What does the word trunk mean in the English language? Well, it could be the compartment in the back of your car, right? It could be a chest that you store things in. It could be the thickest part of the tree. It could be an elephant's nose, right? That's a trunk. Well, the word world in the Bible has at least 3 different meanings. First of all, what we're not talking about during this series when we talk about the word world, we're not talking about the creation that God made. God created this beautiful world, and what 1 John and James 4 is not saying is that if you love the creation, if you love nature, then you're an enemy of God. That's not what is being said there. Another thing that the New Testament is not saying when it warns us about the world is the people in the world, the people that God loves and that God created, humanity. When John chapter 3, verse 16 clearly says, God so loved the what? The world, that he gave his only begotten son. He's talking there about people. He's talking about human beings. He's talking about your neighbors. He's talking about you. He's talking about your parents, your grandparents. We're not talking about, when we say that, when John says, hey, friendship with the world is enemy towards God, when James says, hey, if you love the world, you're hating God, if that's what's being said, he's not talking about people. We're not talking about people. So what is the world? If it's not the creation, if it's not nature, if it's not people, what is the world when we're being warned so clearly and strongly, don't get involved with this love for the world? What's he talking about? I think John Eldredge has one of the clearest definitions, and I love it. I'm going to put here's the definition if you want to write this down. The world is the collective momentum of human sin. It is the system that teaches us that we can make life work without God. You see, there is a concerted, very intentional effort from the world to get you to live your life without God. And there's a systematic way that that's being done to us every single day. Every single day. And so during this series, we're going to try to get real specific and raise your awareness of how that's taking place in our times, okay? The thing about the world is that it shifts. The currents, then the undercurrents of the world shift. So what we want to talk about is trying to describe for you some of the undercurrents that are alive and well here in the world today, okay? What's going on today that is causing us to become friends of the world? So, the first specific undercurrent that we're going to focus on today has to do and was illustrated by the customer's reaction to Domino's delivery pizza, no driver, okay? I think that little story right there beautifully illustrates one of the undercurrents that the world is convincing us and how we can live our lives without God. Customers complained because they had to walk from their door to the curb to get their pizza. They felt entitled to the ease of just walking to the door. Pants are optional, right, Casey? That 40 feet, that 20-second walk caused dissatisfaction with the experience. Now, let me just ask you, is there anything sinful about wanting someone to deliver your pizza to the door? Is there anything sinful about that? Of course not, right? There's nothing sinful about that. It's very subtle, but it illustrates something, all right? It illustrates something, and it exposes something that's going on in the hearts of human beings. You, me, our friends, our neighbors, our family members. It illustrates that ease and comfort, this belief that we have that ease and comfort is our birthright, that we deserve it, that we're entitled to it. And more blatantly and more nefarious, anything and anyone that disturbs that ease and comfort ought to be rejected. That's the really nefarious part of this. Everybody would like to have comfort in their lives, and everybody would love to avoid hardship. But it's when you are convinced that you deserve it, you're entitled to it, it's your birthright, and oh, by the way, you need to reject anything and anyone who disturbs your comfort, disturbs your ease, becomes inconvenient. That is nefarious. So write this down if you're taking notes. The world insists that we are entitled to a life of ease and we should reject anything which causes our discomfort. Now, we're going to be kind of all over the Bible today, but if you've got your Bible with you, I'm going to spend most of my time in James and Hebrews, and those are right beside each other towards the back of your New Testament, so if you want to turn there. But with that in mind, that the world is insisting that you and I deserve comfort in our lives, and anyone or anything that disturbs that comfort and that ease should be rejected. With that in mind, how does that square with Jesus saying, deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow me? How does that square? How does that square with Paul telling us in 1 Timothy, hey, you need to endure hardship like a good soldier of Jesus Christ. Endure, we don't like that word anymore. Hardship, whoo, terrible, perish the thought. That's the Bible, folks. That's the New Testament. If here's what the world would say to you. If you want to be religious, go ahead and be religious. That's fine, but don't take it very seriously. Certainly don't get carried away. Don't become an extremist. Yeah, okay, if you want to pick up your cross, pick up your cross. But make sure the cross is equipped with pillows, air conditioning, and it's driverless. It'll just drive itself. You don't have to carry it. You don't have to sweat. You don't have to put any effort out. That's what the world would say about Jesus. Hey, if Jesus is going to ask you to carry that thing, and then Jesus is going to ask you to die on that thing, Jesus is going to ask you to deny yourself, that's ridiculous. You need to reject Jesus. Folks, that is a huge message, and it's coming at us every single day, in every single way, in every form of communication. Jesus is saying, pick up the cross. The world says, put that cross down. That's too hard. The world is telling us we should give our hearts to pursuing comfort and ease. God tells us that our life will involve hardship. God says, I promise you that you will have struggle on this planet. Jesus said it real clear. In this world, you will have trouble. Not maybe, not if you pursue pleasure and hope and comfort, then you won't have it. He said you will. James chapter 1 says, blessed is the man who perseveres. We don't like that word anymore. Perseveres, yuck. Who wants to persevere? Under trial, yikes. Because when he has stood the test, we don't even have that as a category anymore. That when you're going through a trouble, that you might be being tested, that's not even a category that we think in anymore. You go back and watch old movies. I'm an old classic movie nut. If movies are color, they're too new. That's my philosophy. I like those old black and white films. You go back and watch those old black and white movies, it's like every single film, somebody walks up to somebody and says, hey, you're just being tested, man. You're being tested. We don't say anything like that anymore, dude. That's not even a category. Well, it's certainly the category in the New Testament. James 1, blessed is the man who perseveres under trial, because when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. Are you willing to love God through the hardships? Are you willing to love God during the trial? The world will tell you don't bother. The world will tell you, if God's going to be that kind of God, if God's not going to rescue you when you need rescuing, if God's not going to heal you when you need healing, if God's not going to take care of you when you need taken care of, he's going to make life hard. If life's going to be hard, you need to reject God, because he's not contributing to your comfort. He's not contributing to your ease. Folks, that is a message. It's very subtle, but it's very pervasive. 2 Timothy 2:3 says, endure hardship with us like a good soldier of Christ Jesus. And then God did something tricky. God created two institutions to help us in our development towards Christ-likeness. How do you take a man who's far from God and turn him into a fully devoted follower of Christ, a godly man with character? And how do you do that? How do you take a woman who's far from God and change her into a virtuous woman who's willing to follow Jesus? How do you do that? You know, I don't know about you, but me and the men that I've journeyed with for the last 23 years, ease and comfort ain't got much to do with it. In fact, if I were to write out a definition or a process, I would say, first of all, it's a process. God, there are no quick fixes. It's a time-consuming process for God to make a man of God, a woman of God. It's a time-consuming process, and that process always, intentionally, by design, involves hardship and difficulty. By design. And then God, I think a little bit of a sense of humor here, tricks us into getting married. It's a trick. Because when God gets you married, he's about to turn the crank on your character development. Yeah, he lures us in, right? He lures us in with romance and love and sex and loneliness. He lures us in. And when he gets us in there, he closes that door behind us. And I remember, I don't know about you, but I was so stinking naive. I thought it would be fun. I really did. I thought marriage was going to be so much fun. I thought Sarah, she was my best friend. We had been friends for many, many, many years. And she was my best friend. And now we get to live together. This is going to be so much fun. And now we get to have sex together. And this is going to be so much fun. Who said wrong? Jeff. Yeah. God's got... Now, don't get me wrong. It was fun for about a week. It was. It was kind of cool. But don't you realize that God tricks us because he gets us attracted to people who are the exact opposite of us? We've been saying it for years. Opposites attract. It's true. God's way of tricking us. Because all those things that attracted us when we were dating and we get married a few months into it, man, the attraction goes away. And it's just weird. You know, it's just annoying. It's kind of like when you have a baby, the first 6 months that you got your first baby and you're out there, you're changing the diapers and you just love changing the diaper and the diapers are changing. You don't have any problem with changing the diaper. And then all of a sudden God puts stink in the poop. You know, you remember that? And it's about the 6-month mark. God puts stink in the poop. And it's not fun changing diapers anymore. About 6 months into marriage, it's not necessarily fun being married anymore. But God tricks us into it because he's got this intent, this divine conspiracy. And I guarantee you it is a conspiracy with divine intent to shape me and mold me into the man of God. He locks me into this marriage with this woman who's the exact opposite of me, who all the things I used to think are cute or just think now are annoying, And he says, figure out how to love one another. Figure out how to work together. Because when you figure out how to do that, you're going to be able to love your neighbor like yourself. And you're going to be able to love me with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength. I'm going to shape you and mold you into the man of God I want you to be. I'm going to shape you and mold you into the woman of God I want you to be. Don't bail out. And this is the problem with modern day marriage. We just bail out, right? Because what's the world telling us? What's the world telling us? Hey, marriage is there to cause you ease and comfort. And the moment that your husband no longer causes you ease and comfort, in fact, he might cause you some hardship, that's the time to bail out on your marriage. So we just bail out. We pull the ripcord and we say, okay, go on to the next one. And here's the problem with that. In the next marriage, God's still going to, he's going to still want to develop you into a man of God. Church is the other institution he created for this purpose. It's almost the same kind of deal. He brings people together from all these different backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds. Our church is nuts. Our church is nuts. You go out there and look in the parking lot. You got BMWs and you got Pintos. That's the staff people that are driving the Ford Pintos. You got beautiful, big honking, they look like they should be on a poster, trucks, and you got these little Ford, Ranger, that's the word I'm looking for. You got one of those, Chuck? So we got all this difference in the socioeconomic background. We got guys that are very rich, and we got guys that are very poor. We got guys and gals who come from all kinds of religious backgrounds, and it's messy, 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 messy. And we got people who come in here who are addicts, and we got people who come in here that have never, touched alcohol, and they're teetotalers. And then God says, I want you people to worship me together, and I want you people to work together, and I want you to get together knee to knee in a small group, and I want you to study the Bible, and I want you to pray together, and I want you to get out there, and I want you to serve in the church, and I want you to serve in the world, and I want your fingerprints all over this community. And guess what happens? Conflict happens. That person ignored me. That person said something I disagree with. That person offended me. And we get conflict, and we get offense comes, and we get people with disillusionment coming and disappointment coming and all of this stuff. And then what does the world tell us to do? The church is supposed to be there to bring you comfort. It's not doing that anymore. So we get up from this church and we hop to the next church. And I guarantee you, God's going to be waiting there for you too. He'll be waiting there for you too. Because the purpose of him bringing all these weirdos into your life, these flawed human beings from the church, is to make you more like Christ. That's his purpose. There's a weirdo in every bunch. And if you don't know who the weirdo is, it's because it's you. At what point does my love for ease and comfort interfere with my spiritual growth? You see, that's a very telling question. And I'll be, with me, the tipping point is when I quit. When I give up. So Sarah and I got married. We thought it'd be fun. Wasn't fun every day anyway. And we were both tempted, over the past 30 years, at some time, we were both tempted to bail out. But you know what? When we got married, we locked the escape hatch and we threw the key out. And we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure out how to love one another. We've never talked about divorce. Murder, but never divorce. There for a while, I had a hitman on speed dial. Can you make it look like an accident? And we go to the church. And the church, they're human beings. So we disappoint one another. And we get disillusioned by that. And conflicts arise. And different people have different ideas and different objectives and different priorities. we're not leaving. We know that if we go to that next church, we're going to have the same problems because there's human critters over there too. Right? If I quit, you see, if I quit, if I bail out on my marriage, if I quit the church, and that's a big one today. Oh, you disappointed me, you offended me, so the world says, well, give up on church altogether. You don't need church. That's not what the New Testament says. New Testament says you need church. New Testament doesn't just say you need church. New Testament says you are church. Church needs you. So what's behind this lie? All right? What's behind this lie? We said earlier that a good definition of the world is the systematic teaching that we can make life work without God. What's behind this? Hey, you need to go for comfort. That comfort needs to be your objective. And anybody that gets in your way, anything that gets you need to reject something that doesn't bring you comfort. What's behind that? Write this down. The world insists that this life is all we get. This life, these 70, 80, 90, 100 years, however many you get on this planet, this life is all we get. So we must get all the ease and comfort out of life right now. So at the heart of this thing is this wicked lie that the world is as good as it gets. There's no heavenly reward to look forward to. There's no afterlife. There's no judgment waiting for us. There's no restoration of all things, that Jesus is going to restore planet Earth. We're going to get a new heaven. We're going to get a new earth. There's none of that. There's none of that. We're going to get restored back to what it was like in the Garden of Eden. Paradise will be restored when Jesus returns. There's none of that. The world says no. It is that the world thinks that delayed gratification is the most foolish notion you will ever have, is to delay your gratification. Because there's nothing out there, folks. When you close your eyes in death, you blink into oblivion. There's nothing out there. So it's the age-old, thousands-year-old lie, eat, drink, and be merry, because tomorrow we die. And that's the period. There's a period after that, not a comma. There's a period after that. That's the world. So the world says, hey, don't buy into this idea that you may suffer here and you face hardships here, but endure, because you're going to have a reward waiting for you over there. The world will tell you that is a pipe dream in a fairy tale. But see, the truth is there is an afterlife. The truth is there is a heaven to gain. There is a hell to shun. The truth is there is judgment waiting for us. The truth is that Jesus will return one day. And when he comes back the second time, he's not coming back to be beaten and criticized and ostracized and cursed. When he comes back the second time, he's coming back to be crowned the King of Kings. He's going to become crowned the Lord of Lords. He's going to set up his own government. He's going to give us a new heaven and a new earth. That's the truth. And folks, that's worth enduring some hardship here for. That's the truth. Hebrews 11 is one of my favorite passages. It's the Hall of Fame of the Bible. You know, if you get listed in Hebrews 11 from an Old Testament saint, then that Old Testament saint was right on, right? Right on. Good stuff. These are the rock stars of the Bible. They are the models. They are the heroes of our faith. And here's what Hebrews 11 says right after he lists all these rock stars. Look, all these people, in verse 13, all these people were still living by faith when they died. Look at this. They did not receive the things that were promised. They did not receive the things that were promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, and they admitted that they were alien and strangers on earth. Any of my old Baptist friends remember the old Baptist song, the hymn that went, "This world is not my home, I'm just a passing through. My treasures are laid up somewhere beyond the blue. The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I just can't feel at home in this world anymore." You see, these folks in Hebrews 11, that's what he's saying there. He's saying they admitted that they were aliens and strangers on the earth. People who say such things show that they are looking for a country of their own. If they had been thinking of the country they had left, they would have an opportunity to return. But instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly country. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared a city for them. That's awesome. Look back at Hebrews chapter 10, just one page back. Look at verse 32. He said, remember those earlier days after you had received the light when you stood your ground? Do you remember that? Anybody recall that when you became a new Christian and you're willing to take a bullet for Jesus? He said, you stood your ground in a great contest in the face of suffering. Sometimes you were publicly exposed to insult and persecution. At other times you stood side by side with those who were so treated. You sympathized with those in prison. You joyfully accepted the confiscation of your property. Hello. Because you knew that you yourselves had better and lasting possessions. So do not throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded. You need to persevere. We don't like that word. You need to persevere. We don't like that word. You need to persevere. We hate that word. You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what he has promised. For in just a very little while, he who is coming will come and will not delay. You see, if you view your reward as out there in the future, you don't have to obsess with your comfort and your ease now. If you view your reward as out there, you don't make the purpose of your life arranging for your comfort and avoiding hardship. You say, Pitts, are you suggesting that because I enjoy my days off? Are you suggesting that because I plan for vacations where I can rest and relax, that I'm somehow being tainted by the world? No. I just came back from a vacation, so I better not be saying that, right? My son just got back from a vacation. Better not be saying that, right? Bible says over and over again that we should rest. In fact, Jesus, I talk about him all the time, that he had a rhythm to his life, that he would have this intense work and then he would take a break. He would take his disciples on intense ministry activity. Then he'd say, hey, let's go away and get some solitude. And let's get some rest. There's a rhythm to it. The Sabbath is once every 7 days that we're supposed to rest and worship. Every time we have a single 24-hour period, we're sleeping, 8 hours of that 24-hour period? Ideally. 8 hours of the 24? I mean, God built into the system that we have to have some ease and comfort and have to have some rest. But it's not to be our obsession. We're not to feel entitled to a certain level of it. And the reason is because it's so subtly seductive about our hearts. The world will say, don't bother with God. It's too hard to serve God. Don't bother with Jesus. It's too hard to grow spiritually. We short circuit what God is trying to do in our lives when we bail out on these institutions. We bail out on our marriage. We short circuit what God wants to do. We bail out on the church because the church gets hard. We short circuit what God wants to do in our lives. It's the sin of Esau, isn't it? Isn't that the sin of Esau? Do you remember Esau from Genesis? Those of you who read the Bible, Genesis? You remember? Right at the beginning of the Bible, right after the table of contents. Genesis chapter 25, Esau. He sold his future inheritance for a little bit of comfort right now. Just a little bit of comfort right now. He sold his future inheritance. Wouldn't delay his gratification. Hebrews chapter 12 talks about him. He says, see that no one is sexually immoral or is godless. Like Esau. Godless? Wow. Who for a single meal sold his inheritance rights as the oldest son. Esau is described as godless. This is Abraham's grandson. This is Isaac's boy. And he's described in the New Testament as godless because he refused to delay his gratification. He exchanged his future inheritance for a bowl of soup. Esau bought the lie. It's the same lie behind the pornography pandemic now. It's not an epidemic, it's pandemic. It's a lie. I can have this woman. She will not require anything of me. I don't have to go through the effort of developing a relationship with a real human being. I don't have to go through the effort of romance, and I don't have to take the risk of getting married. I can have her right now, and she won't ask me to do anything. It's a shortcut. I deserve this. I hear people saying, I deserve this. It's the same thing behind the consumer debt crisis that we have in our country. I don't want to delay. I don't want to take the time to save up money to buy what I want. I want to go out and I'll go and get my stuff because I need it now. And I pay these exorbitant interest rates, and I put myself in a terrible financial crisis. Now, folks, in April of this year, I will celebrate my 21st year pornography free. 21 years without pornography. I haven't believed the lie of pornography for a long time. I have zero consumer debt. I haven't believed the lie of debt for a long time. But I am astonished. I am astonished at how quickly I buy into this idea that I deserve and I'm entitled to comfort and ease. It came roaring out several weeks back, and I noticed that it was affecting the way that I started getting very indignant about when my kids would make me wait. So this particular Wednesday night, Sarah came and dropped the kids off for youth over here. All right? We still got 2 kids at home that still are too young to drive cars and are too young to have a driver's license. So Sarah drops them off at youth here on Wednesday night. My job was to come later on and pick them up and bring them back home. And we had prearranged it. I said, hey, at 8:45, you keep an eye on the clock. At 8:45, I will bring the car over to the parking lot, and you just come out and meet me, and we'll go home. I arrived a little bit early because that's what my dad taught me. You got to be early. You can't be on time. You got to be early, right? So I arrived a little bit early. 8:45 came and went. No Joshua, no Jessica. 8:50 came and went. No Joshua, no Jessica. 8:55 came and went. No Joshua, no Jessica. And with each passing second, I'm getting more impatient and more angry and more indignant. Finally, at 8:57, one of them comes out. Only one of them. And I said, go back and get the other one. And when they got in the car, I started a tirade. I started a rant about, how dare you make me wait, yada, 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 wham, wham, wham. I was shocked at my response. I was shocked. The next day, I thought, what in the world is going on inside of me that made me react that way to my kids, making me wait for 12 minutes? Now, I should teach my kids more responsibility. That's another story, all right? Don't be discourteous to people who are giving you a ride, all right? But I kind of missed the big picture that night, don't you think? I mean, shouldn't I have at least thought, hey, it's really cool that my kids love to be at church. It's really cool that my kids love Jesus. It's really cool that my youth pastor, Don Skidmore, has created an environment where my kids want to come early and stay late. That's kind of cool. But instead of that, all I could see was, you have discomforted me. You have inconvenienced me. I should be at home right now, sitting on my fat butt, eating bonbons. I should be watching TV. I should be at my ease and my comfort, and I'm sitting here in this cold, dark parking lot waiting for you. It will steal your heart. It will steal your heart. This lie. It'll steal your heart from your spouse. It'll steal your heart from your kids. It'll steal your heart from your church. This lie will steal your heart from God. Because God has bigger fish to fry than my comfort and convenience. He's got bigger fish to fry. So, here's what I'd like to do as we close. All right, I'm going to ask everybody to stand. And I'm going to ask, disregard. Our staff came up with a great acid test. Here's a great acid test. If you're wondering, did I buy into this lie? Here's the acid. This is a great question. When I go through hardship, do I get resentful? That is a great question. Or when I go through inconvenience of waiting in a parking lot, do I get resentful? Yeah. So let's stand, everybody, every congregation all over the church, every part of our congregation, all the campuses. Let's stand and let's leave today with the words of James chapter 1 on our lips, all right? Put that slide up there. Let's read this together. Ready? Blessed is the man who perseveres under trial, because when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. God bless you all. Have a great week. Hey, if you're new, I'd love to meet you right over here for a few minutes.
This victory march continues till the day every eye and heart will see him. So Spirit, come, put strength